So here we are. For those of you that actually followed the plan, you're hearing me talk for the first time about those case studies, and we're finally there. This is module number 7. And I'm sure you guys are like, finally is there. But you know what? What you've learned there is the basis of understanding no money down deal. Now you understand a no money down deal. I'm going to give you 6 case studies, 5 case studies. Actually, sorry if I went back to my screen. I'm going to give you 5 case studies, and I'm going to detail the numbers for you. So you'll be able to follow. I'll use a tablet PC where I could write down and scribble some notes, and you'll be able to follow from one place to the other. And that's what I'm doing. And in these 5 case studies, the first one is a small, simple bungalow with a tenant underneath. How is that deal put in place? And what's wild out of this is that that's my son's house. My son just bought his first property at age 20 on last summer, August 15th. Bought his first property, and naturally Dad was there to help him out. So he bought his first house, no money down, cash back at closing. And the kids, my son, 21 years old now, lives in this place for about $150 a month in his own place. And what a great gift to give your children to show them how to buy with no money down. Do we agree? So that's number 1. Then I'm going to talk about how to buy a single family home in a distressed market. And basically no money down, and I got actually a cash back at a few $1,000s out of this one. The third one is I'm going to talk to you about an apartment complex, 2 buildings. So this is getting a bit more commercial, 55 units. I'm going to show you how these 2 properties were bought by making 2 separate offers of purchase and financing them, one of them at a higher level than the second one. And then I'm going to go about a strategy I call buy 10, get 2 free. Okay, I've been blasted on this about this. But I'm going to show you how to substitute collateral or use that strategy, that technique, in order for you to be able to buy literally with no money down. So that's the next one. And then I'm going to show you a big commercial deal. A commercial mall worth $1.7 million. How this deal was structured. And that's what I want to do next. So with the understanding of these 5 techniques, and if you mix and match and you start thinking outside the box, guess what? You will be able then to look at about any kind of deal, say, how can I structure it? And that's what I want to do in this module. I want you to get your mind going to understand, by understanding mortgages, hard money lender, bankers, fair market value, appraised value, economic value. How in the world can I do a no money down deal? Because just as a quick tip, if you understand economic value, if you say this building is worth X number of thousands of dollars, $100,000, and you know that you bought it below the economic value, wouldn't you find a partner that may be willing to lend you on that building? Because the building is worth X number of dollars on a cash-on-cash return, on a return on investment. So this is why I ask you to wait until you've gone through all those 6 other modules to get to this one. So that's what we're doing next. You're going to enjoy this section, I promise. This is the most fun section that I have, and I get into it. I'm having fun, and I'm already getting excited about showing you these techniques. And guys, that's 5 of them. Okay? I have 21 techniques with paperwork and all that, 28 techniques in total, with paperwork, with information that I could teach you on an advanced training of creative financing. But to start with, why not learn the basics so you guys could go out and do real deals? Go out and buy a single family home if this is what your market. Go out and buy a 6 or 12 plex. Go out and buy a commercial mall, $1 million, $1.5 million. If you understand that, guess what? You'll get to be the multimillionaire that you want to be in real estate. So that's my gift to you guys this weekend. And this weekend, sorry if I say weekend, I'm used to working on weekends now. I'm working from home, as you can see. This is my office, my back library, and so on. So guys, I'll talk to you in the PowerPoint. I'll do it slowly so every one of you understands what we're doing here. And again, if you have any questions, you go onto our blog at icarelearning.com, I-C-A-R-E, learning.com, and blog on it. Let us know what your comments are, and we'll gladly help you and answer some of these questions that you may have. I'll see you in the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, we're finally at module number 7, the no money down case studies. Now, just some sort of a forewarning here. As you can understand, this is a technical module, so there will be time where I'll take a few seconds. I'll be reviewing some numbers with you and going through, and I actually will pause these 5 different case studies for me just to gather my thoughts and give you the best training that is possible. So this will be a slow learning module, and hopefully I'll be able to answer all of your questions. So let me show you what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be talking about in this module. First of all, what we'll have is we'll have a simple bungalow purchase, and we'll work on this. In this case, on this case study, we'll use actually contract terminology. How did we structure this deal with our contract? So number one, that's what we're going to work on. So it's simple bungalow, small little houses with a basement suite underneath. Number two is we'll use a single family home, and in there we'll use the immediate refinancing. So we're going to come up with some cash, but how could we refinance this immediately within, I'll tell you how short it was done, but you'll see exactly how to do it, and then you could think outside the box and say, well, maybe I could refinance a property within 24, 48 hours, a week, a month, 6 months, So it's a single family home, distressed property, again, the perfect combination of key ingredients to make the deal go through. The third one that we want to use, we want to talk about an apartment complex, 2 buildings, 56 units. And this is a property that 2 of my students, I helped them put the deal together. 2 of my students bought. There are 56 units on 2 buildings. And what we did is we played with numbers. So what could we offer for this property? Again, we found the right vendor, the right location, the right place. Key ingredients were all in place. The next deal after this that we're going to talk about is very simple. A townhouse complex. Buy 10, get 2 free. I call this technique buy 10, get 2 free. It could be buy 87, get 17 free. Buy 5 houses, get a piece of land for free. Remortgage. What I want you guys to understand here is that what could you ask the vendor to give you that you could borrow against? Anyway, you'll see what this is all about. So using other equity to secure a loan. We talk about substitution of collateral, those kind of things. So I just want you to be open to this technique. And this technique is easily usable if you understand the concept. And that's what I'm going to show you here. And the fifth one is a commercial mall. Combo, vendor take back, and hard money lender. How in the world was that deal put together? And you'll see where the hard money lender wants different ratios and why, and why would a vendor agree to carry such a large first mortgage and so on. So this is what we're going to touch on in this module, and you'll see my screen go from one thing to another as we go, but this is because I want to make sure that I'm giving you everything that you need as per the module, and this is the most important module for all of you. So let's get right to business, and let's talk about this. Well, let's review just the key ingredients first of all to making no money down deal. So we have to find a motivated vendor. Do we agree? We talked about that before. What's a motivated vendor? It's somebody that wants to sell. Period. Distressed property, distressed financing. What does the property look like? It could be high vacancy. It could be in a very difficult economic climate. Distressed. Is there any equity in the property? We'll be using 3 of these examples. We'll use an equity as a base to do a no money down deal. The property has to have potential. So I mean, we have to have potential, and in one of these, well, actually 1, 2, 3 of these cases, the vendor had to like you to put the deal together. He had to like what we were presenting him, and my business partner Jean and I, we laughed often to say, I look good, I feel good, and I smell good. That means that there's nothing wrong with you in the eyes of the vendor, and you're doing everything that is positive to make things go. And naturally, we have to think outside the box. Now, what I want to warn you here is that I'm showing you 5 techniques. They are real techniques, they're real property that have been bought by me and some other investors and students of mine that I coach on to buying. And but this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're using basically 3 or 4 techniques on in a combination of in this module. And I teach a creative financing camp just on creative financing, where we have 27 or 28 different techniques that are real techniques. They're not just swapping time for a deposit and so on. So I just want you to see that there's these 5 techniques, there's 5 examples here that you have in their case studies will help you at least structure your first, second, maybe third deal in no money down. And that's what I want you guys to end with. I mean, you'll be able to go buy, well, I mean, you could buy basically anything if you understand these 5, but then, you know, you're going to get into more complicated paperwork and everything, and that's what we have for you guys next. So let's go to our first deal. I want to give you a description of what the deal is all about. First of all, this is my son's house. Last year, my son was 20 years old. He wanted to move out of the house, and I said, Dad, I want to rent. I said, well, you know, this doesn't make any sense in renting. You're going to university. Why would you spend your money in rent and making somebody richer? Why don't you start looking for a house? Well, I said, I can't afford a house. I said, well, just go find something where you would have a tenant, and that would help you basically pay for your rent. So I said, okay, well, I'll look for, you know, a small bungalow style house. And I said, well, go look for some, you know, a house that has a 2-level where the basement could be a suite, and, you know, you have a 2 or 3 bedroom on top, and so on. So effectively what happened is he went out and started looking around. And, you know, every 2 or 3 days he'd be calling me, say, Dad, I found something. You want to have a look at it? Well, once you're quite sure this is what you want, let me know. So the story is a bit weird. Is that last year I'm basically getting married, and I'm leaving July 7th on honeymoon for 7 weeks. And my son calls me about 3 or 4 days before, and he says, Dad, I found the place that I want to live, and I want to make an offer on it. And I say, yeah, Alexandre, you know, I'm leaving in 5 days from now, basically 4, 5, 6 days from now. I don't have the time right now to plan and get this deal together. Oh, Dad, please help me, and so on and so on. So, short story is that effectively, Alexandre calls the vendor, goes to see the place, likes the house. He says, well, I'm going to get my dad to come and help me here and write in the offer to purchase. He's busy. He's leaving. He's getting married, and he's leaving on vacation. So he's basically pre-framing the fact that, first of all, I will be helping him out. So it's not the young buyer that's out there that has no experience. I'll be helping him out. It's going to be a quick transaction because I'm leaving on vacation. And he also told the vendor that I was a real estate investor. So my dad is going to help me. My dad buys some properties and so on and so on. So one of the things here is that basically he was pre-framing the vendor for what was going to be happening next. Now I have to give you a bit of the history behind the property, because, you know, when I say you need to know what the vendor wants, and you also need to know what does the vendor need. So we show up Saturday, or yeah, probably about Saturday morning if I remember well, and in front of the house, and it's a young couple. They just had a new house built for them. So we find out, or Alexandre found out, that these guys wanted to sell their house because they had put a deposit on the property, and there was a builder building the property for them, and they had put an offer on that property, and they were quite, you know, happy about it. So it was a bigger house, nicer house. They were happy about this, and technically they were supposed to close on this new property in 45 days. Now this property was actually a for sale by owner, so there was no real estate agent involved, which simplified the things, because you're speaking directly with the vendor. Asking a few questions, we found out that they needed all their cash. It wasn't, there's not enough equity in there, and because they're buying the property, another property, there's no, would you hold a mortgage or something like that? It was basically, you know, we need the cash. Asked them the question plainly, are you negotiable, yes or no? And they basically said, yes, we are. And they were asking 172.9. But what I have there is that I have a young couple. They have a house. They need all their cash. They want to close in 45 days. So for them, timing is of essence. It's for sale by owner, so the paperwork is easy to do, and they're negotiable. So I already found out that they want 172. But now what I need to find is, what do they need to close that deal? What's the magic number that they need in order to close that deal? So I show up there completely disinterested, And the first statement is, hi, my name is Marc Mousseau. How are you doing? Listen, guys, I understand Alexandre wants to buy your house. I know that you guys want to close quickly. I'm getting married in a week, and I'm leaving for 7 weeks. I'm going to be in Asia. I don't have much time to negotiate this, so if there's any deal to be made, it's going to be made like right now. And no huff, no puff, no counter, no nothing. We have to do this deal right away. So do you see the position that I have taken? I've taken my son is there, and it could be you are going out and your wife is coming in 2 or 3 hours or next day, and she's completely disinterested. I mean, for me, it was really annoying me that my son was finding a house a week before I was getting married and leaving on vacation. It showed I was not in a good mood. And I'm saying this as a joke here, but think about the position that I have taken. My son wants to buy, he's all hyper. Me, I'm just showing up, says, listen, guys, I'm getting married now. We're going to do the deal, yes or no. Do you want to sell? Are you negotiable? So if you follow the strategy here by having a partner that is disinterested in the property, there's a better chance of you to make a good deal. And by the way, whenever you negotiate, whenever you talk to somebody on real estate, don't ever take the position that you are kingpin. You always say, listen, my name is Marc Mousseau. How are you doing, sir? My partner and I are looking at buying investment properties. My partner is not here at the moment, so I'm just doing some scouting around to see what there is. We're having a meeting this week. So always, and he's always the bad guy. A lot of people say, no, that doesn't work. Absolutely, it works. That's typical in real estate. There will always be a good guy and a bad guy in any transaction. And if you guys, what I wanted to, well, I mean, that's part of my sales thing. I'll give you all those leads later on. Okay, so let's continue. So the negotiation, completely uninterested, unemotional buyer. I need to determine what they want. Well, I know what they want. They want 172 versus what they need. So the discussion is quite simple here. Mr. Bender, you want 172. Do we agree? What are you willing to accept? Are you negotiable? Yes, we're a bit negotiable. We're looking at 167 or so. Also, you're saying that there's $5,000 leeway or difference here in the price. Wow. That means that basically I'd have to get an appraisal done to see if the value's done, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I really don't have the time. Tell me, what is your bottom line? If we close in 3 weeks, Mr. Vendor, now, understand that I will be away for 7 weeks. This is a pain in the neck for me. You need to close quickly. You want your cash. If we were to close in 3 weeks, what would be your lowest price? And they literally came up and said 162.5. In negotiation, if you don't ask, you don't get. And what I did here is I test close. I knew I wasn't going to close in 3 weeks, but I wanted to put the money inside of them and say, this guy is serious. He's leaving. He's going to be in Asia. How in the world is he going to do this? But Mr. Vendor, if we were to close in 3 weeks, what would be your lowest price? 162.5, they tell me. So now I know that they wanted 172.9, but they needed 162.5. Cash, no condition other than an appraisal. It's not even subject to financing. Just, yeah, we could close in 3 weeks if you hurry, because I'm going to help my son obtain his financing too. So I've got 3 or 4 days. So you'll know within a week if the deal is strong or not. So, and I say cash, no financing. I just say cash. Whenever you make an offer to purchase, don't ever mention that at the start. Why would you tell the guy that you're getting financing on? Just say it's always cash. You always pay cash for the property. There's no, he's going to get cash, certified check. He's going to be paid out. So there's no it's subject to financing. Yeah, it's subject to due diligence, and due diligence is, can I obtain my financing? Think about it that way. So final agreed price, $160,000. So they went down $12,009 in 15 minutes. Just by understanding how to pre-frame and look for what does the vendor want and what does he really need to, and put a strong position in your offer. I could have always said, okay, yeah, I'll offer you 162. I need to get an inspection. I need to do all this. No, Mr. Vendor, if we're able to close in 3 weeks, would you take 160? That's basically what this comes up to. But so now that's the price. Now, how in the world did we write this deal? My intent on this deal was effectively for Alexandre to buy this property with no money down. So I said to Alexandre, let's write an offer at 172.9, subject to financing, subject to inspection, closing in 3 weeks. Naturally, the phone rings while we're doing this, but hang on a second. Okay. So subject in 3 weeks. Now, if I make an offer for 172.9 and I actually want to really pay 160, I have to get 12,900 back, or a price lowered by 12,009. So what I told the vendor, I said, Mr. Vendor, here's the deal. You're going to pay me a commission of 12,009 to be paid to my company for negotiating this deal. So I'm writing the offer at 172.9. On closing, I need a check of 12,009 paid to iCare Learning, and Alexandre is going to go and pay 172.9 for his property, and I'm making 12,009 to put this deal together. Again, phone is ringing. Hang on a second. I'm going to take this off. There we go. So 12,009 to pay to iCare. Now, what did we do on this? So let me just pause this for a little second, and I'll explain to you the deal. I'm leaving you actually just look at the transaction, how it was done, okay? So now if you look at this transaction as per it was written, so we said 172.9, so I'm going to get a pen here, just make sure we have a color, and we're going to be able to highlight a few things. So we say 172.9 was the purchase price. Alexandre went out and he got a first mortgage as an owner occupied, 95% of the purchase price. So basically 164,255, and he had. I mean, this is where no money down is true, but you still somehow need to have access to cash. He needed $8,600 in as his 5%, and CMHC in the bank asked, do you have that $8,600? Yes, I do. Do you have your closing costs? Yes, I do. So his total down payment on this was what? $10,145. So the bank wanted to see that there was $10,145 in his bank account, and effectively that was the deal. So now, on closing, what did he do? He effectively paid the vendor $172.9. But the negotiated sales price was $160,000. So what happened then? From the proceeds of sale, the vendor turned around and made a check to iCare Learning for for $12,009. So he got his 172, paid me $12,900. His net was $160,000. So this was really a no money. Well, it wasn't a no money down deal for Alexandre. He needed $10,145. Do we follow here? Does that make any sense for you guys? So this is not a no money down deal for him. I made 12 grand. But you know what's wild is that I had father's remorse. I could not make money on my son's first house. So what did I do? I gifted him $12,009. So I gave him $12,009. The next day after closing, how much did it cost him to come in? He came in with what? $10,145. Did he do a no money down deal on this for $2,755 cash back? So actually, he not only bought with no money down deal on this, he pocketed $2,700 net, net, net. So you see, this, what did I do here is I basically got myself paid. I got one of my companies paid a commission. Now, all the ingredients were there. Do we agree? Vendor's motivated. We know what they want. There's equity in the property. It is worth $172. The appraisal came at that price. So there was equity in the property. It was a good deal. It was negotiable easily because I was speaking directly with the vendor. So for sale by owner in that case was a good way to get the transaction going. The price was there. paperwork was easy to write because me, it was simple. If you want me to get my son to write this contract, I'm going to write the contract, but I'm charging you $12,000, period, or one of my companies. Now, at some point down the line, you may be using companies for commission, for repairs and maintenance, and so on. That is your decision, but that was a simple bungalow purchase. Now, what's better than this is, check this one out. I'll pull a calculator out. Actually, if you take a $168,000 mortgage at for over a 25-year term at let's say 5%, payment on this were $977, and he's getting a tenant in the basement for $800 a month. So this house is costing him actually $177 a month to live in, and he has a tenant upstairs that he's a co-lock, if you could say so, that is giving him $4 a month. So he's pocketing $233 that goes towards repairs, maintenance, taxes, and insurance. So he's living in his own house at age 21 for basically nothing. And that is what a no money down deal is. So with this thought, with this process, I hope you understand how you could put a simple single family home deal together. So let's go to number 2. Case study. So did this deal, I have the key ingredients. Absolutely motivated vendor, negotiated directly, we knew the price, there was equity in it, it was easy to finance, and that's what it was. There we go, motivated vendor, equity, vendor liked me. Well, he didn't like me personally, but he liked Alexandre. Creative financing was easy to do on this, and important to have access to quick cash. Oh, okay, so let's say that Alexandre did not have his $10,000. Could he have used his credit card? Could he have used a line of credit? And actually, could the bank, technically, could he have gone to the bank a week after and said, Mr. Banker, I own this property, would you give me a small $5,000 line of credit? And could he have used that to repay his debt that he might have borrowed from me or something like that? And you know, when the bank asks, show us proof of your down payment, luckily my son is a good saver, so he saves money, but I could have just put $10,000, $12,000 in his bank account 2 or 3 months in advance and say, hey, listen, it's there for you, it's a term deposit, if you ever need to show it, then at least you'll have it there. But I mean, you know, these are all ways to do business, if I could say so. So let's talk now about number 2. So give me one little second. Okay, so here's the story behind case study number 2, single family home. Well, the background of this property is very, very simple. This was a foreclosed property owned by the bank, so it's real estate owned. During tough political and economic crisis, I lived in Quebec, and some of you guys might have heard the Quebec referendum and so on, where there was some major political disputes there that were affecting prices, and you know, we have different, I guess, things around the world right now that may affect prices, and you know, sometimes it's just companies closing or opening. And this was basically 3 months before Christmas, so 2 or 3 months before winter came over. The owner that actually had lost the house was living in the property because the bank wanted the house to be kept secured or insured, heated, and so on. So they actually gave him a lease on a month-to-month basis. And they were asking $245,000. And the reason I'm giving you this example is this is one of the houses that I bought to live in. So I'm showing you real life properties that the first one was my son, this one is a live in the house. But it just the way we structured the deal was interesting. So what would they, well, first of all, the fair market value, the appraised value on that property was $300,000. So I knew that this property was worth more than the asking price because they were asking $245,000, and I knew the property was worth more than that, but it was worth more than that in a good market. So the fair market value, you know, the appraised value, fair market value in a good market would be worth $300,000. It's funny. Well, anyway, so I made an offer to the bank for $215,000, $30,000 less than what they were asking. And again, closing as soon as possible. Get the tenant out of there. Get the tenant out, and I'm moving in. So just let's do it as fast as possible. Now, what I did on this property was very simple. I went to my bank and I said to Doris, I think was the bank manager, said, Doris, I've got this house. It's worth at least $300,000. I made an offer on it for $215,000. I'm looking for a first mortgage of 75%, so a loan to value 75%, and I do have the 25% down payment in my bank account, so I have the cash for it. So cash requirement $1,000 plus your down payment was $54,000, and then it says, Mark, do you have that 25%? So therefore, yeah, we're okay. But in a sense, I'm turning around and said, you know, this property, Doris, is worth $300,000. As soon as this political crisis ends, and we know the answer to the referendum, if we could say so, this property is going to be worth more than than what I'm paying for. So basically, she says, well, let's close on it first, and then we could either refinance it or we could probably do something else. I said, okay, well, let's look at what you're thinking here about. So let me go to the next slide. So what happened out of all this is that my bank manager, when I discussed all of that, I said, listen, I understand that you cannot lend me more than 75% of the purchase price or the fair market value, the appraised value, because that's your banking laws. And if I bought it for $215,000, the maximum you could lend me is $161,000. This is when I buy. Do we agree? I said, yeah. So the maximum I could lend you is this. But what I could also do is I could refinance it the next day. Or I could probably give you a home equity line of credit for 75% of the fair market once you own the property. So she says, what you could do is, what we could do is close on it on Monday. Tuesday, come back and see me. The appraised value is $300,000, and I'll give you a home equity line of credit secured by a mortgage. So it's going to be basically the same rate as your first, except on home equity line of credit, and we'll do it on the fair market value, which is $300,000. So the new financing, excuse me, the new financing was $225 in total. My original mortgage was $161,250. A difference of $63,500. So my line of credit that they authorized was $63,750, less what I had put in. So basically, I got cash back $9,000. Do you guys follow here what I've done? So on this transaction, I bought and closed at the lowest value, so the $215,000. And as soon as it was closed and I owned the property, I went back and I refinanced or I borrowed against it. This is another way for you to get no money down deals, or basically within the 24 hours. Now people say, well, you still needed $54,000. Yes, I did. Where could you have gotten that $54,000? Could you have asked a hard money lender to come in for 30 days? You know, could you get a friend's neighbor? Could you use your 4 credit cards to get to that $54,000? I mean, you know, it's mix and match of financing here that you're putting in place. So, key learning on this this property. First of all, did this property have key ingredients? Motivated vendor. Do you think that a bank wants to keep a property just before winter? Was there any potential? Yes, I knew that the value of this house was far more than what I was buying it for, just because of the market and what was happening. When you refinance this way, you must make sure, if you do a refinancing, that your mortgage is open, meaning that it's cancelable at any time. If you take a 5-year close and you want to refinance the next day, guess what will happen? You're going to have a penalty out of it. So just make sure that you have an open mortgage and or favorable payout terms and conditions, so minimize your cost. So that's what I'm trying to show you in this example here. Does that make sense? Okay, case study number 3, an apartment complex. So let me give you some details on this building. First of all, it's 2 buildings. 2 buildings, total 56 units. And I don't remember how many units per building, but I think it was 30 and 26 or something like that. That's why I didn't write exactly the amount. The appraised value on this was $2,150,000. We made an offer on this property for $1,000,009. So there was, and it was an accepted offer. So it's $1,000,009. So in talking with the vendor, we got even before you write the offer, or actually you could rewrite the offer, we went from $2.15 million to $1.9 million. So there was $250,000 in equity. So there is value there. You know, when I say, you know, you've got to make money, there has to be equity. You make money in the buy in real estate. So this is how we structured the deal. First of all, we decided not to offer $1,000,009. Make one offer for $1,000,009. We decided to make two separate offers because both buildings were side by side on individual title. So technically I could write two different offers. So separated and price each of the buildings individually. Separate purchase agreement to allow for different financing option. So we said, maybe if I pay full price for one building and it appraises that and I get conventional financing, I'm going to get more money than if I just average out the price on both. So we said which building would be worth the most, and let's offer as much as possible on that building and get the other one at a lower price, if you guys understand. So the appraised building number one, the appraised value was $950. Building number two, $1.2 million. So what we decided to do is building number two was worth more, so we offered full price on building two and $700,000 on building number one. So still, if you understand what we're doing here, is we're saying, let's see what we're going to get most financing out. So that was the offer to purchase the way it was presented. Now, financing the deal, what did we do? So let me run that by you. Give me one little second here. Okay, so what we did in here is very simple. We knew the property was worth $950. We also actually had asked the vendor if he was willing to carry a mortgage, and the vendor agreed to be in first position and to give us a mortgage for $525,000. Okay, so we're buying it. The appraised value is $950. The vendor is willing to carry $525. But we also know that we have access to hard money lenders that are willing to finance up to 90% of the fair market value, and that means that the hard money lender is willing to go all the way up to $855,000. So if I take my first mortgage, from the vendor of $525, and he's willing to do the difference between both of these, that means that the hard money lender is willing to lend $300,000. Do we agree? $525 plus $330 is $855. Therefore, it is maximum finance on value. The $855 is you cannot go higher than this because hard money lenders won't lend much more than 90%. You guys understand that? Now, if I'm paying $700 for this, doesn't that mean that I'm going to get $150,000 cash back? Do you guys follow on this one? I'm paying $700 and there's $855,000 in financing. So basically, at closing for this building, I'm getting $155,000. Now, I could use that $150 to use as a down payment on my other building. And that's what we did. So follow through. So the second building, the appraised value is $1.2 million. We know, or we found out, that the bank is willing to lend 70%. You see, we've used the best building, the highest value, and that's really the offered price, $1.2 million. We knew we could get $840,000 for that one. Plus, the vendor is willing to carry $180,000. Now, I'm using cash from my first building in the amount of $155. That means that what? I'm in total financing. I got my first mortgage here. I got a VTB of $180, and I'm using cash from my first building is $1,175,000. And how much am I paying for my building? $1.2. Therefore, I need $25,000 out of my own pocket to basically buy $2.1 million of real estate. Now, if I don't have my $25,000, where will I get it? Can I use a credit card? What can I do? Where and how can I find $25,000? So do you guys understand this? So fairly easy to I hope you understand the principle, is we took the building that had the highest value and made the offer at full price on that one, financed that one to the maximum we could, get a second mortgage on it, and then we'd only need 175, or we needed basically that kind of money here that we have right there. Does that make any sense for you guys? What other strategies could we have used to buy this property? We know we paid $1.9 million. We all agree. If you calculate the first mortgage, we have gone to a bank and get a 70% first mortgage. And you know, if I look at VTB and hard money lenders, can I have obtained $570,000? Most probably. So again, that would have been a no money down deal. Could I have got the vendor take back of $705, which is a total that what the vendor has already given me, and look for a first mortgage of 63%? Would I have done it at $1.9 million? So you see, understanding the mortgages, the positioning, what to ask, and to find a deal is what makes a no money down deal, period. That's how you make deals like this. So, did this deal have really key ingredients? Absolutely. Key ingredients was what? The vendor was negotiable by almost $200,000. On top of it, he was willing to carry a mortgage. The vendor liked us. He was open to creative financing. You have to have a vendor that's open to creative financing. But do you realize that when you deal with an investor, investor to investor, when both parties want to sell, they both become creative. They both know what it will take to make the deal go through. How you structure your financing is only limited by what? So I was saying it is limited by your imagination and the law. And right now I did not break any laws in doing that deal together because of what? I used basically on that transaction, we use vendor take back, hard money lenders, and we use like 60-65%. I mean, the capabilities there without breaking the law are endless. Okay, I'm starting this over, this case study number 4 again, so I'm starting over right now. Okay, case study number 4. Here's the background here. I have 10 units, so it's 10 units in a townhouse complex. It could be 10 single family home, 10 townhouses, individual title, it could be a small residential project, it could actually be 10 acres of land. Whatever, you know, just use the concepts here and then you'll be able to apply it to whatever situation will happen in your life. Don't look for the 10 units, the exact 10 units. 2 years ago or so we looked at a project in northern Canada. It was 87 units. It was worth $10 million and there was 87 units, but he was selling it for $8.7 million, so $100,000 a unit. Well, you could do the same kind of numbers once you understand the concept, and that's what I want to try to explain to you here. So those 10 units on a per unit basis, they're worth $1,250,000, so $125,000. That means that if the promoter, the vendor, the owner of the land was selling these units individually, he would probably get about $125,000 a door, a unit. But he wants to sell all 10 of them at the same time. Have you ever seen the condo developers saying, listen, I'm going to sell you 1 floor of the building and I'm going to give you a rebate because you're buying 1 floor, or I'm going to sell you 40 houses in a project and I'm going to give you a rebate because you're buying all 40. Absolutely. I mean, it's normal. A developer that sells land will do the same thing. If you're willing to buy 1 acre, you'll pay $125,000. If you're buying 10, you'll pay $100,000 an acre. You know, the concepts are just there, just for you to understand how you could put a deal together with that. So they're all worth $125,000. He's asking $1 million. So look at the progression of this offer. This is the question. If you're buying multiple units, can you pay full price on some units to get a discount? Does that also sound like example number 3 a few minutes ago, those 2 buildings? When we structured that, we said let's pay full price for one because we get more financing on that one. There we go. So here's how this deal was structured. Fair market value, all 10 units, $1,250,000. That means it's $125,000 per door. Asking price, $1 million. For the 10 units, it's $100,000 each. Do we agree? Now, what we did in this is we offered $1 million for 8 units, $125 a door. So every unit at a separate offer for $125, the appraisal comes in at $125. So therefore, I should be able to get financing on $125. Do we agree? So I'm buying 8 units for $1 million, and I'm saying, Mr. Vendor, give me those 2 other units for $1. Period. So now I own those 2 units if I buy those 10. Are we following here? It could be the same thing on land. It could be the same thing on whatever you have. I'm just trying to explain to you that I'm maximizing the value and paying as much as I can on some units to get as much financing as possible. So let's look at that again. Fair market value 1.25. 8 units, 125. Purchase price $1 million. I could get a first mortgage of $750, but I need to put $250,000 as a down payment. Where would I get my $250? Now, let me ask you a question. If you had a house that had no mortgage on it, that was worth $250,000, could you go see your bank and say, Mr. Banker, could you lend me 75% of my house, and I'll use this to put the $250,000? Yes or no? You could probably do that. Do we agree? So just follow through on how this was done. Fair market value 125. 8 units, $125,000 each. Fair market value of free units, 125 times $125,000. That means that I could get $93,000 on financing on unit 9, $93,000 on unit 10. That means that I could probably get $187,005 on my last 2 units. Do we agree? So I needed $250,000. How much am I missing here? How much money am I missing in order to close the transaction? I only needed what? $250. So if I go this next slide, $1 million, $715 first, down payment required, $250, cash refinance for my first unit, $187, still required to close $62.5. Where do I get that money? Vendor take back, short term, hard money lender, credit card, partner, or other creative solutions. Do we agree? If it's worth $1.25 million, can I get a hard money lender to lend me 90% of that? 1250. A hard money lender could lend me up to $1,125,000. Can I get the vendor to carry a bit of a mortgage? Can I get him to carry the $65,000? Do you see that when you buy properties with equity, there's the chance that you will have possibilities of doing a no money down deal. And that's how no money down deals are made. So let's take it one step further. That means that what else can I do? And I think I just talked about it. $1,250,000 mortgage on 8 unit. $750 mortgage on 2 other units. $937. That's what I needed. $63,000 or $62,005. There. Okay, refinance with a hard money lender. I could have got 85%. Cash out $125, less cash required. I would have been in my pocket $62,000 here. Does that make any sense? So when we start mixing and matching hard money lenders with VTBs, with cash, credit card, home equity line of credit, refinancing, this is what we come up with. Key learning in there. Does this deal have the key ingredient? Motivated vendor. The guy wants to sell all 10 of his units. Potential in the property. It was worth 1.25. The vendor liked the buyer. The vendor really enjoyed dealing with us, and we're creative in our financing. Now, some of you guys would say, well, what if you don't close on the property and so on? You need to own those properties 90 days before. Guys, this is creative financing. I mean, there's more to this than meets the eye, but it gives you a chance to understand equity, value, and all that. And I'm teaching this also in creative financing in much more details. So the way to exponential growth, grow your real estate wealth, is refinance, and reinvest. Simple as that. Refinance a property, reinvest. Refinance a property, reinvest. Not refinance and party, guys. Okay, this is case study of a commercial mall. So now we're getting into different kind of real estate, but realistically, who cares? That we're buying a commercial mall, a strip mall, a medical office, a 12-plex, a 6-plex, concepts are always the same. And this is not a concept. This is a strip mall that one of my good friends, one of my business partner, because Jean was a student of mine and became a business partner, and Jean has bought all of his real estate with no money down because we worked together and we put those deals and together, and Jean's a brilliant guy also. But here's the background. Here's the history on that property. So first of all, I think it's a 29,000 square feet small mall, a nice location, good building basically. And the vendor is asking, well actually the vendor is asking $1.7 million, and it is a pocket listing. What that means is that the building is not actually for sale. There's no sign in front. The real estate agent is advised by the vendor that the vendor wants to sell. Now, the vendor is 80 years young, not old. The vendor is 80 years old, if I could say so. And what was great on that property is that there was no mortgage on the property. And you realize if there was no mortgage on the property and the vendor had this property for a few years, it's been paid for in full, depreciated and everything, if the vendor was to sell the property and cash in on his profit, he would basically have to send almost half of this to revenue agencies for tax purposes. So the vendor had no mortgage on the property. He's 80 years old, but the vacancy in the mall is 46%, which means that this mall does not cash flow. If I was to pay $1.7 million with a 46% vacancy, there is absolutely no way that this property will cash flow. So that was one of the challenge on it. So you know, you turn around and say, okay, it's nice to buy the building at a good deal, but if it doesn't cash flow or it cash flows badly, I'm going to go bankrupt myself. So and also, what was funny out of this is that the family was absolutely not interested in taking over the property. They just were happy to live on the dad's cash, and they did not want to manage it. They did not want to have anything to do with that shopping mall, plus everything else that the vendor had that at that time we did not know. And when I'm saying how much did this vendor had, the guy was a multi-millionaire, all paid cash. There was no mortgage on anything that this vendor owned. So here's how the transaction went. Very, very simple. With negotiations back and forth, the final accepted offered price was $1,300,000. Now, in those negotiations, we found out that the vendor was willing to hold a mortgage only if he was in first position. And Jean played his game very well in this. He says, Mr. Vendor, my partner and I, when we buy real estate investment, we try naturally to minimize the amount of cash we put in, but would you accept 75%? Would you accept to carry a 75% first mortgage? And at first the vendor says, well, that's a bit more than I wanted. I only want to carry 65. Well, you know, my partner is the number cruncher, and actually, you know, we're actually looking for maybe even a bit more than that. Would you consider 80 or maybe even 85%? And it ended up that the vendor agreed to carry 85%. And guys, this is documented. It's no joke. Some people just are happy carrying a mortgage. I mean, this is cash for them. It comes in month after month after month. There's no management. There's no worries. There is nothing for them except to collect their check. So he agreed to carry $1,105,000. Now, in those negotiations, if I had kept that first mortgage of $1,500,000 and I had a 6% mortgage, I could not. It's a negative cash flow. So in the negotiation, the vendor agreed also to have no interest, no payment for the first 6 months. Why? Because he knew that the only way to solidify, to make sure that his mortgage would be secured, is if we spent money on the mall and increase or decrease the vacancy. But in commercial, when you want to bring new tenants, you've got to offer tenant improvements, TIs, and it requires cash. And the deal was structured in a way where what we'll do is, Mr. Vendor, for the first 6 months, no interest, no payment. As vacancy will go down, we'll start paying you interest on your loan. So let's say at 30% vacancy, we'll pay you 2%. At 20%, we'll pay you 3%. At 10%, we'll pay you 4%. At 5%, 6%. At 0% vacancy, we'll bonus it to 7%. Now let me ask you a question. If the owner owned the shopping mall for many, many years, does he know people in the area? Has he been trying to rent that? Does he know? And actually, the vendor was actually a good friend of the mayor and very politically connected in that town. So was it to his benefit to help Jean, rent the place and get it occupied as soon as possible? So not only did we have him carry a mortgage, but we almost had him as a partner until we cash flowed in the property. Do we agree? So but at the same time, the vendor at one point says, well, you mean to tell me I won't get any interest for 6 months on this? Well, I'd like to get some of my money. So what was agreed at the end is that the interest for the first 6 months would be added at the back end, meaning that, let's say the payments were supposed to be $2,000 a month. Well, at the back end, instead of owing you $1,105,000, we would have owed you 6 payment of 2,000s, which is 12,000. So at the end, we would have owed you $1,117,000. Okay, if you guys follow what I'm doing here, based on vacancy. Now, what's also fun about this is that it was done brilliantly, as far as I'm concerned, is that the same thing applied to the property management company. You very well know that property management company want to charge a fee to manage the building. Well, for them, that they manage a building that's half full, half empty, they still would normally get their 6%. Do we agree? Let's say 6%. So the deal and negotiation in there was that, listen, Mr. Vendor, Mr. Property Manager, because the building is half full, I really don't have the cash flow to give you 6%. What I'll do is I'll pay you 4% until vacancy goes to 40%. I'll pay you 5% at 20, and so on and so on. And instead of paying you 6, once the building is full, I'll pay you 7%. So you bonus the property management for finding you good tenants that will stay long, because now they have an incentive to find you good long-term tenants. Guys, that's how you make money in real estate. It's actually pretty simple. Do we agree? So in there, we only needed to come up with $195,000 on 1.3 million bucks. It's not that bad. Do we agree? Well, what if you did not have $195,000? What else could you do? The vendor did not accept to be in second position here. Says, I'm willing to lend 85%, but I'm in first position. What else could you do? Well, if this mall is worth $1.7 million, can I find a hard money lender to lend me up to 90%? Well, 90% of 1.7 is $1,530,000. Could that mall actually been bought, no money down, plus cash back of $230,000? It could have. But in this case, what happened is the hard money lender says, listen, I would be willing to go up to 90%, which is 1.5, but the maximum price that I will lend is 100% of the purchase price, which is $1,003,000. Therefore, the first mortgage of $105 plus hard money lender of $195 is $1,003,000. So basically, that mall was bought, no money down, and and today Jean could turn around and refinance this mall and cash out $230,000, and now it's worth probably $2.5 million at this moment. But there's something I think we're forgetting here. Okay, the hard money lender had agreed to a 15% interest, even if the vacancy on the property. Hard money lender agreed. Let me go back this thing here. Let me go back. Hard money lender agreed to 15% interest, because even with 46% vacancy, the property cash flowed. So the thing is that if you look at the way this transaction was done, if you had no mortgage payment to pay on the first, did you have enough cash flow to pay the hard money lender is $195,000? Yes or no? Probably, because the building is, okay, it's half empty or half full, but there's still enough cash flow to pay at least the 15% hard money lender's rate. So I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying. I'm going to say it again. If I don't have a first mortgage and my building is half full, I have enough money to pay my hard money lender on his loan of $195,000. That's what I'm saying here. Now, closing costs. Oh, there comes a problem right here. Closing costs, legal, appraisal, mortgage brokers, etc. The closing cost on this transaction was $35,000. So it was a no money down deal. Completely no money down deal. I bought the property, none of my money, but I still had to come up with $35,000. How could you pay for that? Listen, could you find a third mortgage? Could you find a cousin, an uncle, another partner to lend you that $35,000? Could you use a credit card? Could you use a home equity line of credit? You know, when I talked yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier about home equity line of credit, wouldn't that be a good time to get a home equity line of credit that is secured by a mortgage on your house? Why? Because you need $35,000 here to buy in to almost $400,000 worth of equity. And these are the deals that you're looking for. You don't want to use your home equity line of credit to buy the next little thing beside, just because you want to say that you're cash flowing and that you own 25% of this and it's paid for in full. Use your home equity line of credit when needed on a very, very good deal, and this was one of the best deal that I have seen, and potential out there is amazing. So, case study, deal revised. Could we have done this differently? Absolutely. We could have gone VTB, hard money lender, $230,000 or cash back. That's option B that I've talked about. Would a total refinance have made sense in that case? Sure. You could have gone out, buy, close on it, first mortgage, hard money lender, turn around the next day and go get 75% of $1.7 million. You own the building, so why not get the 75% of that? That would have given you $1,270,000, so you would have $25,000 in. You see what you could do once? Made sense? Oh, by the way, could you have done it? Yes, but does it make sense? Absolutely not. Why would you go out and refinance a property when the vendor is carrying the mortgage? Even if you're paying 6%, 7%, or 8% on the vendor take-back mortgage, that mortgage doesn't show anywhere. It's with the vendor. You're always going to have better terms and conditions with a vendor than you're going to have with a bank. And I'd rather keep as much as my borrowing power as possible than to go out and say, okay, let's go refinance it. We'll go to Standard Trust. We'll go to a major bank. Well, here's another loan that shows in my books. So the least people know about you, the better you are. Now, key ingredients: motivated vendor, equity, potential, vendor like the buyer, creative financing. We all agree that these are the key to have made all those 5 deals. In conclusion, guys, what do we got here? Well, the real truth is that do no money down deal really exists? What do you guys think? I've showed you 5 very easy strategies here. Are they possible for new investors? Yes, they are. Now they are for you, because these strategies and understanding what I teach you here is, I think, key to your success. And are they possible? Can you really buy without using any of your own money? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. I've done it. My son's done it. My students have done it. And you should now be convinced that the answer is yes. So 3 steps to success. Very, very simple. First, find a good deal. Make sure it has the key ingredients, which we've discussed all along this training. Use creative financing to make it work. Guys, this is the basic, this is the fundamentals of no money down, buying with no money down. I have a 3-day course on video that will touch 28 different techniques, explain in detail with paperwork, with contracts and all that to show you. This is to let you go out and buy some of these properties. And for those of you that are interested in knowing more on how to buy with no money down, just go into our website, and our website is under iCare, I-C-A-R-E, learning.com. Under the Mastery program, you'll find these camps, and I'm recording them as we go right now. Let's see what we have next. One last final truth. Oh, that's interesting. No money down deals are created, not found. So guys, I think I'm going to thank you back. I want to thank you for your time and investment into our company here. As you see, we've given you great information. There's a lot more to come here. You know, it's nice to want to do a no money down deal, but do you know how to write your contracts? Have you ever done due diligence? Where could you make money or lose a ton of money in due diligence? We should also talk to us about asset protection. Now, it's nice to say I'm going to buy with no money down deal, but how do we evaluate the value of the building? What about GRM, cap rates, 1% rule, rule of 75? Can I do my math very quickly? How can I analyze a deal in 2 minutes and come up with a decent offer? That is just the how to buy side of it. Now, we're talking about property management. How can I increase the income on my buildings? How could I manage my property managers? I've talked a lot about creative financing, property management, creative financing. What about lease options, sandwich lease option, and option to purchase? I mean, these are all great real estate topics that we will be covering. And like I said, if you follow us through our website and our blog, we'll be offering you courses and training. And we have some coaching, we have some phone coaching, we have help if you want on putting deals together, that you could reach us and see us. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your time, your confidence that you put in me. If you have any questions, please go on our blog. Lori and I would like to thank you, to welcome you to iCare Learning, and we have 2 bonuses for you. One of them is how to negotiate, and the other one how to use your credit, how to increase your credit, how to maintain good credit in order to buy real estate. So thank you again. Have a wonderful life, and we hope to talk to you or see you on a webinar or in a live event if you are ever in the area where I'm teaching. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and live with passion.